My name is Jacob Vilovac, and I did how nuclear energy is created and the different types of power plants, as well as the citations.
My name is Noemi Jimenez Arenas, and I did the negative impacts of nuclear power as well as the concept map.
Hi, I am Jasmine Thomas, and I will be discussing the positives of the Chernobyl disaster and nuclear energy.
Nuclear power is very different from others because it uses uranium chain reactions to produce power. Uranium is put into small pellets that are put along a fuel rod, which are bundled together to make the assembly. In a reactor, many fuel assemblies make up the core. The way they use the uranium is by hitting an atom with a neutron, which starts a chain reaction as it releases 3 more neutrons that hit more uranium. This process generates some gamma radiation and a lot of heat. In a boiling water reactor, the water is ran past the extremely hot core to turn it into steam, where it is pushed past a turbine that spins to create power. The steam turns back into water and goes around the system again. Pressurized water reactors are more commonly used and work by the hot water being pressurized so it won't boil and having the water run through a tank of cold water turning it to steam. The steam then goes past a turbine to produce power. 2/3 of all nuclear power plants are pressurized water plants. One of the biggest questions and worries about nuclear power is that it could explode. Well, unlike atomic bombs, nuclear power plants cannot explode because the type of fuel used is completely different. However, if the nuclear reaction was not contained and it got too hot, it could melt and look like this. The melted uranium releases a lot of gamma radiation it's impossible to get to remove. This picture is the melted fuel from Chernobyl nuclear power plant.
Even though the Chernobyl disaster of 1986 shed light on many negative effects of widespread radiation, the incident has also taught us a lesson that will impact present and future nuclear power plants. It will show that even after disasters like these, people learn to rebuild, as some formerly evacuated areas have been resettled. The fact that workers and families still see possibility after such an impactful event shows that people will still learn to live and adapt to the environment. Similarly, so do the flora and fauna. Even with the area being affected by radiation from the accident, many plants and animals have still found a way to thrive, as no obvious hereditary effects have been observed. What has been observed, however, is flourishing biodiversity. Another impact has been the discussed lessons learned from the accident in areas of nuclear and radiation safety, emergency preparedness, and response, usually put together by an international organization like the IAEA. These sort of discussions help to teach the other nuclear power plants to have better safety and security regulations to prevent accidents such as this one from happening again. In the end, the Chernobyl accident had many negative effects and yet many enlightening components that have already impacted the social and environmental progress in positive ways.
What are the negative impacts of nuclear power? During our independent research, I found that there are no real negative impacts unless a nuclear power plant has a meltdown. If we were to have another nuclear disaster like Chernobyl, 100 square miles of land would be uninhabitable for many years. All the wildlife in the area would die of radiation sickness, and those closest to the power plant would have been exposed to high levels of radiation. But all will not be lost. In 2011, a group of biologists went into the exclusion area of Chernobyl to survey the wildlife after 35 years of the explosion. What they found was something that was not expected to happen so soon. After 35 years of being uninhabitable, they found a very healthy wolf pack. For an environment, if a top predator like the wolves is in a healthy condition, that means that the prey is also in a healthy population, enough to allow their predators to feed on them. This was surprising given that the radiation levels are still high enough to keep humans from being able to be within the exclusion area for extended periods of time. This finding was also very important because up until then no one knew how long the area would be a wasteland. But now they have found that the area is restoring itself. This means if another nuclear power plant were to have a full meltdown, a few decades later the area would be habitable. This means that the nuclear power plants, with constant supervision, can be beneficial to society because it is clean energy, and with constant supervision, there's no possibility of a nuclear incident that will be as disastrous as Chernobyl. We started off with the general term nuclear. From there we went on to atomic bombs and Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings, and from there I mentioned Chernobyl and nuclear power, and that's when we decided we wanted to do nuclear power. From there, since I mentioned Chernobyl, we went into radiation, public reactions, both positive and negative, and then a study that had been done on the exclusion area regarding radioactive wolves, and that is how we came up with our project.